Home stretch. Last part of the restoration on the D-70, resetting the keyboard after fitting the ROMs. You will know that if you pull the battery out of a synthesizer of this age, you tend to lose the internal tones that are loaded into the synthesizer. So I've pulled the battery out, and of course I've lost all the tones in the synthesizer. But in addition to that, I've also put 2 new ROMs into this machine, which brings me up to firmware version 1.19, and we'll check that in a sec. So when you switch this machine on, the ROMs don't know where they are. They need to be re-initialised. And what you end up with is you end up with this screen which says no RAM card. It can't find anything. It doesn't know what it's doing. So I'm going to go through the re-initialisation sequence in a sec. But that's what you get. If you get that, you know the machine is working. It just doesn't know what to do. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. So the first verification check we're going to do is we're going to check that the Roland D-70 is reading the new ROMs. So in order to do that, what we do is we switch the machine on, off, when I can find the power on and off switch, which is over there, and we power back on and press the number 1. So what this does is it takes the machine into a diagnostic mode, okay? And it's the diagnostic screen that tells you what version of ROM you're running. In this case, I put in version 1.19, and it's very heartening to see that this is actually showing up as version 1.19 on the screen, 9th of March 1993. And it's written in American format with the month before the day, not European format. And as I said, I'm pretty sure this was the last ROM that was released by Roland after they finished manufacturing this synthesizer. So there you go, the ROM is correct. The next job we need to do is we need to clear down the memory on this machine. So even though I've wiped the tones, it doesn't wipe it cleanly. So you need to actually perform a full memory wipe, which is standard for when you're re-initialising the factory set anyway. If you want to load any SYSEX onto this machine, you must first clear the memory down. To do that, we press the number 8 key and we power on. And it should ask me, do I really want to do this? And of course I do, because there's no tones in this. So I press enter. And it will then go through the logo screen. And there we have what I expect to see now, which is an empty memory D-70. It's just got user gobbledygook on the screen. Okay. Now we proceed to loading the machine up. What we need to do now is set the machine up to receive SYSEX. And we do that by going into Edit, and then we want option 5, which is System Setup. And then there are 2 menu items, menu item 3 and menu item 4, which we need to change. Menu item 3, which is exclusive RX, as in receive exclusive messages, we need to set that to on. The next thing we need to do is we need to set this to 17. That's the Roland designation number 17. Back from when MIDI was new. So that's the transmit setup in here done. And you don't save it, you just exit out of that menu, back to gobbledygook. The next thing you need to do is there is a protect switch on the back of the machine here. And it has 3 positions. It's left, right and centre. And you need to make sure that is in centre. I think that's centre, isn't it? Yes, just making sure. Yes, it needs to be in centre. because center switches the memory protect on the machine off. So this machine has a hardware memory protect. In other words, if it's in left and right, the memory protect is on. If it's in dead center, the memory protect is off. And in order to receive SYSEX, the memory protect needs to be off, which is what we've just done. The Roland D-70 is set up to receive MIDI. I've got my MIDI cable plugged in the back of it. I've got my MIDI interface plugged into my PC. And I've got MIDIOX loaded on screen. MIDIOX is my preferred method of doing this sort of stuff, where I'm loading SYSEX files onto machines. It has the added advantage that it is a shareware piece of software, although I think I bought a license for it because I use it so often. Anyway, MIDIOX is loaded and we're ready to load the SYSEX onto the Roland D-70. So the first thing we need to do is bring up the SYSEX menu on the D-70, and we do that by going View, and then selecting SYSEX, and it brings up the SYSEX view and scratch pad, as it calls it in MIDIOX. Now we need to set MIDIOX up to send to this machine, or send and receive to this machine, should I say, because this is where you do it. And you go into the SYSEX menu on the SYSEX view and you go configure, and this is already set up to send to a Roland machine, but if it wasn't, I will be setting low level input buffers, size 512, number 17. And this is the important one, the low level output buffers. This is an old machine, remember, it doesn't read data very quickly, so you have to slow the data stream down. So low level output buffers are 32, number is 17. Personally, I always put a delay of 60 milliseconds after the F7 command, and also I'd like to see the F0 and F7 commands in different colours so I know what's going on. Once you've done that, click OK, and you've now updated MIDIOX to be able to send to a Roland machine, or a Roland machine of this age, shall I say, being more correct. Now, you can send the file to the machine in one of two ways. If you're confident the SYSEX file is fine, you can do send SYSEX file, and that will allow you to select the file and send it directly to the keyboard without any other interaction. But I'm going to do it in a slightly different way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Command Window, Load File, and then I'm going to select the Roland factory set, because I'm going to restore this with the factory set, and I'm going to go OK. And there you have in the command window effectively the hexadecimal for the SYSEX. And I can't read hexadecimal, but actually what you can see on screen is where the F7s and F0s are. So you can see the F0 there and F7, that's the length of one chunk of data. Anyway, once I've done that, I'm going to actually send this now to the computer, from the computer to the synthesizer, and I do that by going Command Window, Send SYSEX. And what you will see is you'll see a file progress window here. You'll see absolutely nothing on the keyboard. And that's one of the things that throws people, because they see nothing happening on the keyboard. The only way you tell something is actually happening is A, watching the file progress, and B, if you've got an audio interface with a blinking light, you see the blinking light. File transfer window is finished on here, which means it's finished transmitting the file to here. Again, that took about 2 minutes, but there's still no indication anything has arrived at the synthesizer. But that is the computer work done. So even though the file has arrived, this thing still has no sounds to it. I'm seeing nothing register on my sound recorder. So what we need to do is we need to switch the machine off and then switch the machine back on. And that effectively re-initialises the tones in the tone library. And with a bit of luck, if it's all worked, we see the patch menu arrive, and if I start playing, I can see sounds have arrived. So that is the D-70 reset, the ROM's in it, and we have finished this piece of work. But before I go, this project is complete, but I did say I would do this from the Mac as well. So if you hang on, I'll just go and swap the machines across. So I'll bring my Mac up and I'll restore this machine from the Mac. So as I promised, I'm going to do this with the Mac. So I've already cleared down the memory again so you can see how to reload the file from the Mac. Obviously the memory protect is in the off position. This is all set to receive. So we're just going to go straight to the Mac. And you can see on the screen here I have loaded the factory reset SYSEX file. A couple of things I need to do here. I need to go into System Librarian and Preferences, and I need to, if I hadn't already made the changes, I need to make sure that the pause between played messages is 60 milliseconds and the SYSEX timeout is set to 1 second. Then I need to go into the transmit speed, and I'm using a interface that has ports A and B, two interfaces. On port A is what I'm plugged into the Roland D-70, so I need to set that to 10% and my transmit buffers at 32. Once you've done that, your SYSEX Librarian should be good to go. And then what next thing I need to do is just select my interface. So MIDI Sport port A, and then I play it. And as you can see on screen, it's now sending the messages. You get a little bit more information on the SYSEX Librarian because it says there's 145 messages to restore the SYSEX on this machine. I have to believe it because that's what it says on screen. And we wait for the obligatory 2 minutes while it loads. Progress bar has gone. File has been sent across. We switch it off. We switch it back on. And then we have user sets. Go that way. This is one of my favourites. I love this sound. Of course I can't hear it because I've not got any speakers amped up in here, but you just heard that. So there you go, that's how you restore it from the Mac. And that really does conclude the restoration that I was doing on my Roland D-70. It has been brought back to root health, all the keys are working, the ROM has been updated, the battery has been renewed, and it's good for another 7 years of service in my studio. Catch you later, bye bye.